Uh, yes, we are live. Fidos ma'am, your camera is not.
Uh,
Yeah, now it is.
a
Yeah,
very good
you're live
evening
now.
to one and all present here. Welcome, students, to the Diksharam program, session 4 of Jai Hind College. After so many sessions concerning various aspects of self, family, society, we have brought you yet another session from Team SIP, which is on nature and world, and which is a very contemporary and a very relevant topic in today's world. Apart from self, our relation with family, our relation with society, what are we doing in terms of the nature and on a larger scale to the global world? And today we have a renowned speaker in front of us here, Dr. Devangi, our very own Dr. Devangi Chachit from Botany Department. Ma'am is an associate professor at Jai Hind College, and ma'am is very passionate, to tell me honest, about research, and that literally shows up whenever she talks about research. The passion and the smile that comes on her face. She's a part of various committees in college, in terms of, we could say, administrative capacities, and she's also a PhD guide. She has doctoral students registered under her, and I will invite Dr. Devangi Chacha to address the students on a very enriching session on nature. Welcome, ma'am, from Team SIP, from
Thank you.
Radhika, Anamika, and
Thank you
Firdaus.
so Thank you so much, Radhika ma'am and Firdaus ma'am, for such kind words. Hello, students. We are going to talk about nature, and we are going to also talk about what exactly nature does for us and what are we supposed to be giving back in return. So, talking about nature, when it comes to nature, you've been studying from school, I believe, that nature as a whole is made up of several factors. Now, nature is made up of several factors like physical factors like air, water, metal, etc. We have biological order or biological factors, which are going to have plants on one side and animals on the other side. uh, so in now, according to the new ways in which we are classifying the nature, we have four orders in which the nature is classified. So we have the physical order, we have the biological order, we have the animal order, and we have the human order. Of course, we humans always assume that we are always going to be on the top of the order. So let's assume it like that and go to the first factor, which is the physical factor, and understand how is this physical factor important in ensuring that nature is working for us humans. Second order which we are talking about is biological order or bio order. Now in this bio order we mainly put plants. So plants of all orders like grasses are also included, flowering plants are there, non-flowering plants are there. There are many plants which you may not be able to see, but they exist. So yes, all those plants are also there. uh, the third order which you are talking about is the animal order. Yes, it is a very, very interesting order wherein right from soft animals like starfish or octopus, and we talk about large animals like possibly big cats or dogs, etc. Talking about the human order, I don't need to explain anything in detail there. We all know humans are going to be forming we have the largest population right now, and honestly speaking, because of us, because of the activities which we have been always claiming that we are doing it for advancement, we are doing it for better living, etc., etc., somewhere we are spoiling this nature, and that is what we are going to discuss today. So what we are doing is we are talking about interdependence and how nature has always lived in cohesiveness, or living in relation with each other. But as whatever questions you all may have, you all can keep posting on the chat. I believe Radhika ma'am and Firdaus ma'am will read those questions at the end of the session. But in case if you want me to stop and answer your question, please write that also in the chat. I will do that. Okay, talking about the harmony between the orders which we just spoke about. So I have a very, very beautiful video which is by Julia Roberts. uh, I will just play that video and then we'll discuss more about this. So please give me a minute. I will just share my screen so that you can okay, wait, I will share the video file. No, it's telling me to download. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Just 1 minute. I'll just share my screen. Um, I believe you can see my screen now. Um, Firdaus ma'am or Radhika ma'am, I believe you can see the screen.
Yes, yes, ma'am, it's
Oh,
visible.
great. Okay.
Yeah.
Some call me nature. Others call me Mother Nature. I've been here for over 4.5 billion years, 22,500 times longer than you. I don't really need people, but people need me. Yes, your future depends on me. When I thrive, you thrive. When I falter, you falter. Or worse. But I've been here for eons. I have fed species greater than you, and I have starved species greater than you. My oceans, my soil, my flowing streams, my forests, they all can take you or leave you. How you choose to live each day, whether you regard or disregard me, doesn't really matter to me, one way or the other. Your actions will determine your fate, not mine. I am nature. I will go on. I am prepared to evolve. Are you?
So, yes, this is what we were talking about. Talking about nature and how nature, we need nature rather than nature needing us. Now, talking about the interdependence or the harmony which is expected from us. So, let's understand what kind of harmony already exists within nature and how nature is supposed to be so very important for us. So, I'll just tell you a small story with respect to us visiting. Actually, we go on field visits, and we take students outside for making them understand, because you already know that I teach botany. Botany is supposed to be more of plant studies, and it is very commonly said that hum jad पौधे के doctor hai. So yes, it is that. So when we go to the field, we see the plants, we also observe how the plants are being treated. At the same time, we are also going to see how the what is the kind of environment in plant stays, and what are the physical factors which the plant requires. So all of us know that we as in not we humans, but plants do require soil, they need water, they need sunlight, they need air, etc. Now when we talk about all of these factors, we are talking of something called the physical factors, which we just saw. They are existing in nature, and we know that there are 100 different types of soils. There are so many factors when it comes to environment. When we say humidity, we say temperature, we say wind velocity, etc. When we are talking of all of these factors, we are talking about different kind of ability, which sorry, I'm really very sorry for that disturbance. Okay. So when we are talking of such factors, they are going to be having an impact on the plants or on the animals which are surviving in that region. So let's talk about, I believe all of you know what cacti are, cactus. So when you talk about cactus, we know that they grow in deserts. We know that they grow in areas which are going to have scarcity of water. They are going to be growing in areas which are super hot because of very intense sunlight over there, and the temperatures are very high. So that is why the plants are going to be requiring more amount of water. Now they don't have water because the area doesn't have, the soil doesn't have water. Now, when they don't have water, they are going to obviously behave in certain way. And this is the behavior which is showing us the plant relation with environment, with nature. Likewise, there are animals which are dependent on plants. We all know that honeybees give us honey, right? Now that is our dependence on honeybees. But what are honeybees? Where are these honeybees collecting this honey from? They are collecting it from plants. They're collecting it so that they can get food. Why are they collecting this honey? It's not honey which they go and collect. It is the nectar from the plant which they are going to collect. But along with collecting nectar, they also help plants in pollination. They transfer pollen grains from one flower to the other, ensuring that seed formation takes place. This is what is interdependence for in between, or rather I would say the animals are going to help plants in order to multiply. That is why it is interdependence. That is why we can say that they are dependent on each other, because honeybee is getting something, at the same time the plant also is getting the work done. Of course, we've heard so many examples of mutualism. We know that plants and animals are going to be interdependent on each other. They are dependent on each other. There are animals, two different animals which are dependent on each other. Like I believe you have this crab, what a hermit crab, right? So you have this hermit crab which is going to be having, there is a crab and there is a fish which is going to be always together. There is one example. I'm sorry. There is one example, I believe, where we have fishes which are associated with plants. Um, Likewise, we have. Uh, so these are the kind, or we can also talk about saprophytes. I believe you all know what saprophytes would be. Saprophytes are the plants which are going to be talking about. I'm sorry, they are the organisms which are going to degrade or decay, and they're going to be dependent on decaying organic matter. So they are going to be helping us to degrade all the dead material which is there in nature, releasing all the compounds. What are these compounds? These are the metals and heavy metals possibly, which are present in our body. So whenever an animal dies or a plant dies in nature, nobody goes to cremate them. It is supposed to decay on its own naturally, and that is what is called biodegradable. They are naturally biodegradable, but that does not mean that we just throw any waste material that is plant based or animal based on the road. Correct? Because we cannot do that. So because there are so many small tiny organisms which we cannot even see with our naked eyes, which are called microorganisms, like a few bacteria or a few fungi or viruses, which are helpful to us. These organisms are the ones which are going to help us degrade all the material and release the locked compounds. Now, I'm sorry to give you this example, but if I own a house, it may be worth, maybe possibly, I have a house in Churchgate, which I don't. But in case if I had a house in Churchgate, it would value somewhere in possibly some few crores, right? Possibly hundreds of crores. Now, if we have a huge big house in Churchgate, but I don't have any cash which I need for my daily living, that such a huge property is of no use to me because I don't have anything to eat with that property. Correct? So, same way, when we have organisms, the organisms are made up of several elements, and these elements are getting locked in our body. So once the organism dies, we are going to, we have to, or we should rather, ideally release these organic chemicals or any chemicals which are present within the plant body or animal body. Now, these are going to be released only because of saprophytes, or the plants which are going to, or animals which are going to be, I would not say animals, I'm sorry, microorganisms, which are going to be helping us to release all these chemicals or the elements which are present or making up our body. So, as I was talking to you about the field visits and etc., which we undertake. So, doing while we are taking these field visits and all, we had gone to a place in Panvel, which is a nursery actually, but they have some very beautiful ways in which they help or make people understand about what is conservation, how do we, why should we conserve. So you've already seen that video of Julia Roberts talking, and she said that we need nature. So that is why we need to conserve nature, because we've done enough to spoil it, honestly speaking. Now, talking about what exactly do we need to conserve or how we need to conserve. For that, I will show you. Oh, okay. I just give me a minute. I will show you that those pictures which they have displayed there. So please excuse me. These are the pictures which I have downloaded. It's from a WhatsApp chat. I'm really, really sorry. But there is a video as well which we had made. So I will just try and show you this video. Pictures, and then just tell me, guys, if you can see uh, you can see my screen. Am I correct?
Ma'am, it's not visible. Can you try
Okay, I'll
again?
just start again, ma'am. Please
Yeah,
tell me
please.
once you can see the screen.
Yeah. 1 second. Once you right now,
Yeah, I'll just try
yeah,
and
it's loading. It's loading. Yeah,
yeah.
1 second. Yeah, there it is.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what was there on one of the boards which they had displayed. That it was a very beautiful thing. I honestly speaking, all of our students loved it. It says in very simple things, and trust me, this is so true. It says, grandfather saw it in rivers, father saw it in wells, we saw it in tap, our children will see it in bottles. Where will our grandchildren see it? Is it going to be in capsules? We are talking of water. We don't know, because we are over exploiting the water as resource. And trust me, guys, in nature, water is something which is required by every single organism. We need water to survive. If we don't have water, we are not going to be able to survive. And that is why when you talk about mission Mangal or any other planet which we are trying to understand, even moon for that matter, we are the only thing we are trying to understand it. If they have water there, only then we'll be able to survive. Otherwise mankind cannot survive there. I will also show you one more picture that talks about, again, one of the physical part of nature which is called the soil. When the soil disappears, the soul disappears, because we will not have plants without soil. Of course, we do have many methods by which we are able to cultivate plants without soil. Possibly, like, you must have heard about something called permaculture and aquaculture and etc etc, but that is very, very short lived. We are not going to be able to do it forever for our lives, and we will have to be respecting nature. So the other hoarding which they had was, the earth doesn't belong to us, we belong to earth, and that is what we need to respect, right? This is also one of the
You can
short
see
videos.
that this is a very beautiful
Please permit me to.
tree that shows the growth of multiple
I am really very sorry, just give me a minute. I think now you can see it.
organisms. For example, these large, you can see that
It's
this is a
visible,
very
ma'am.
beautiful that shows the growth of multiple organisms. For example, these large parts that you can see is a moss called, the air capsule is called what?
Aisa?
This is no, this is polytrichum. Polytrichum. There are lichens of various types growing here. This is a foliose lichen. This is a crustose lichen. And here, very beautiful lichens growing all over the tree and mosses. What I want to show you here is the apothecia inside a foliose lichen.
Please ignore the technical
You
terms.
can
Just
see
try and
the
understand how
cup-shaped
nature is
structure,
allowing
right?
everything to grow in a harmony.
Here you can see more of these mosses, the lichens growing in between. a very beautiful example of how succession takes place on a particular region.
Okay, so this was one of the videos which we made when we were on the trip, uh, to show how everything, that is, one plant is dependent on other plant. When we are talking of dependence, when we are talking of interdependence, this is what we are trying to show. So when we are talking about uh, plants being dependent on other plants, like I believe you all know about insectivorous plants, how they eat insects and all. Now, it is not out of choice, it is out of compulsion that the plants are eating insects. The plants are growing in such areas where they don't have enough nitrogen in the soil, and because they don't have enough nitrogen, they are supposed to be dependent upon other plants, other animals, for as a source of nitrogen. Okay, so that is why they are eating all the insects. And I believe all of you know how a Venus flytrap works. A Venus flytrap is an insectivorous plant which has two leaves which are going to be open, and they have these ants or flies coming to them, and they the insectivorous plant is going to catch hold of these insects for its digestion or as food. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking of dependence and interdependence, right? So we are looking at how we are going to be dependent on each other, where we are going to be talking about the mutual relationship, right? So the soil plant interaction, all of us know that all the plants will have their roots anchored within the soil, and we are going to be the plants are going to be dependent on the soil because they are the ones who are holding the plants in place. How are animals dependent on soil? They are going to be moving around on the soil. Not only that, but they are going to also get their food from plants, possibly, which are growing in that soil. So though they are not directly dependent on soil, they are indirectly dependent. Animals and birds, how are they dependent on plants? Because 90% of them are herbivores. They are going to be eating plants and plant products. uh, Therefore they are going to be dependent on plants. How are plants dependent on animal? We just discussed the example of a honeybee. So plants and animals are interdependent. We also have uh, water, air, etc., which is supposed to be very very important factors like soil. So yes, all of us are dependent on air, water, soil, etc. Talking about the waste material which plants and animals are throwing back into the environment. Like if there is a plant which is dead, it just is going to fall over there in the farm, in the field, in the forest, and is going to be lying over there till the time it decays. But when it decays, it is going to produce manure for other organisms to absorb from there. What is it absorbing? The same elements what we are talking about. So we are looking at formation of such interlinkage which is there, interdependence which is there. We are forming food webs, food chains, etc. This is what we are looking at, this is what we are talking about. So whatever, now there are laws, right? In nature also, the nature does follow the laws, and the law says whatever has come in, whatever is living has to die, and whatever is dead has to be assimilated within the soil so as to be able to nurture the future. Correct? And that is what we are going to be understanding. Now where are humans in this? Of course we are on the top of the order, saying that we are the boss. But guys, are we really doing our duty? Are we really fulfilling the need, or are we really showing the nature that we are dependent on it? Honestly speaking, no. We are rather dominating and exploiting nature. We are trying to take as much as we can from nature without returning anything. We are not able to understand. Trust me, guys, I believe all of you will have ACs in your house, 100%. Guys, keep commenting in the chat. I will get to know what you have written. So I don't believe there are any chats. Are we having any chats? Hello, guys. Are you there? I don't have any chats. I don't think you all are writing anything. Are you all writing? Nope.
Nothing yet, ma'am.
Nothing yet. Hello, guys. I know it's in evening time. You must be having a cup of tea with you or a coffee, maybe. Guys, please, please, it'll be a great session if it is an interactive session rather than me blabbering so much. Right? So, guys, let's have an interacting session. Oh, great. Thank you so much, here. It's good to see somebody there.
Yes, students, you can use the YouTube chat section to pose your questions or even ask Devangi ma'am if you have anything specific to ask.
Yes, please do so. I will be very happy to answer in case if I can. But if I can't, I will definitely get back to you and answer the questions which you've asked. Right? So we are looking at, I'll just continue till the time you guys post some messages or chats or questions. So we are looking at interdependence and what are our duties or what are we doing. Now, all of us keep telling us that, we are exploiting nature, we are doing so bad, we are behaving so badly, and etc. But guys, we're not so bad. I know we are mean, we are very, very self-centered, selfish, but then obviously it doesn't sound right, right? When I'm saying we are selfish, we are self-centered, so and so. So let's assume, let's justify what we are doing. It's so hot. Everybody is feeling so hot nowadays because it is so hot, and that's why we sit and turn the ACs on. Now, yes, we do turn AC on, but what we are not able to understand is the AC is cooling only the interior part of my house. It is producing so many gases in environment because those are released in air. Those are all chlorofluorocarbons. They are all CFCs, right? And therefore, it is adding to the ozone layer depletion. We are still stuck. Trust me, guys. When I was a kid. When I was in school, since that time, we are hearing that ozone layer is depleting. And trust me, it's more than 30 years that I have left my school, right? So please try and understand that it is not simple. It is not a day's job that we can repair what is done by our ancestors also. But guys, if we don't do anything right now, we are not going to be able to give anything to our future generation. We will have our future generation, right? So we have nothing to give them because if we don't keep the earth habitable, we are not going to be able to do anything with it. Trust me, we are going to only and only leave nothing at all inhabitable earth to them, to the future generation we are looking at. That is why see, what is done is already done. You can't undo those things. But at least we can stop spoiling it more. I am not telling you not to use AC. I am telling you to use AC, but try to use things only and only when absolutely necessary. If you can sit without AC, please don't use AC. If you cannot use plastic, please don't use plastic. You all know that you all belong to Jahan College. We know that we have got plastic drive, which is clean up drive. Guys, you need to ensure that we contribute to saving Earth. If we don't save nature, nature is not going to spare us. We are going to have our own share. We may not face it. We may not have problems. The future generation will, right? So we need to understand this. We need to give it some sort of a thought that we need to start repair work now. If we don't do repair work, we are doomed. Any which ways, we are in a bad condition right now. Thanks to people who have already utilized so much of, so many of all the fossil fuels and etc. We are paying more than 100 rupees petrol. A liter petrol, we are spending more than 100 rupees. We are already having shortage. If we say that, okay, we have already started using electronic vehicles now, yes, we have started, but are they really good for environment? The kind of batteries which are going to go in making those electronic vehicles, are they really good? We need to do some work on this. We need to understand. Every third, fourth person who is there on the street is riding an electronic vehicle. But are they really good? We need to understand. And this is what is our role in providing, in having or showing that we are dependent on nature. We need to use everything having a thought. We need to always think before we are spending whatever we are spending from nature. And that is exactly what we are expecting you all to do. It's not that we are not doing anything, it's not that we are shedding off the responsibilities. We are taking the responsibility. We are saying that we have misbehaved, because in that photograph which I showed you, I did show you that we have still seen it in, containers. We have seen it in tap. At least we were lucky enough to see water in tap. You all are lucky enough to see it in tap. After some, maybe 2 generations next, they are definitely going to see only bottled water. There are so many areas which are already facing drought. They are not having any drinking water available to them. That is what is going to happen. People will see water in capsules. People are already working. Trust me, guys, when I'm saying this, scientists are already working in area, so that you know how in space they consume water. You should see those videos. They are beautiful videos. In space, they just consume one single drop of water, and that their thirst is satisfied. That is because there is no gravity. They are not going to feel hunger or thirst, but just for our mental satisfaction, they are going to consume these things. They will just have one single drop of water and they are okay with it. This is because that water is also processed in such a way. Likewise, their food is in capsules, right? So we are going to be looking at these things, and they are going to turn reality very, very soon if we don't start acting now. Okay, so this is what we are going to do now. We need to ask this question to us, and that is, what is naturally acceptable to us? Whether we enrich the 4 orders which we spoke about, or we are going to exploit them. Are we going to just keep using them, or are we going to really help in managing, maintaining these orders, which we are going to say that they are still interdependent? Earth is still habitable. We are going to be still surviving on Earth, and we don't need to look at Mars for surviving. It is not only the population explosion which we are having, it is also the food which we are having a scarcity of. We don't have enough food to feed so many people. There are hundreds of people, in fact millions of them, dying because of hunger. We do not have the mutual understanding with plants or animals to we are not helping each other to sustain and survive. This is what is an issue. This is what we need to address, right? So guys, in case if you all still, there is no person other than here who has messaged. I believe you all are there. You all can still help me in understanding what's guys, just give me 1 second please. Okay. I'm sorry, the battery of the laptop was low. I'm really very sorry. Okay. So, guys, I have spoken a lot. I have spoken for more than 35 minutes. Guys, you have any comments, you have any observations you can make, please talk. It will be great to have some topics of discussion with you all. So, guys, if you have some topics, we can discuss. You have some questions, I can solve. Otherwise, I can go on, not a worry. Can I wait for 2 minutes?
Students, if you all are watching, please do interact. In class, you all are always chatting away to each other.
I would
Use
love
this
to hear
platform.
those chats. It is very interesting to understand. You get a lot of gossips, guys.
I agree. Students, please use this opportunity to talk to Devangi ma'am about things that you may have observed in your natural environment, in your surroundings, things that you may have observed in your behaviors, others' behavior.
Come on, guys, talk.
Don't feel shy, even if it is a very basic question.
It's okay. No worries. You can ask anything. Please try and keep it pertaining to the subject topic. Come on, guys. Are you there or are you all sleeping? It's just because it's a online session. Are you all sleeping? Yeah, they must have done this so much, no? So regularly during the
Tired, yeah,
lockdown.
I know.
These guys must be in what, 10th standard, 11th standard.
Correct.
Guys, you all have slept enough during lockdown. Come on, wake up now. Hello, bachas. Come on, talk. No questions. No, he also has slept. Was it really so boring? I'm really very sorry, guys. Okay, should I go on?
Yes,
Because
ma'am, I
I
think
believe
that will
there
be
are
best.
students. How many students are there, ma'am?
As of now, ma'am, it's in the double digits. It's fluctuating.
Okay. Okay, fine. I think I'll go on for maybe next 15 minutes, and then if
Sure,
there are
ma'am.
questions, we'll take.
Sure,
Right?
ma'am. And then we will have Jyoti ma'am also coming in. So we will
Right.
move on to the next session as well. Okay.
Sure. So we are talking of interdependence. There are hundreds of different examples which we can quote when it comes to mutualism, when it comes to interdependence with respect to plants and animals. So in the video which I showed you, which was made by us, that person who was talking on the video was talking about something called lichens. Now, lichen is a very, very beautiful example of mutualism or interdependence, where two different sets of organisms are going to be dependent on each other. So there are these algae which we call as water plants, or they are going to always be found near water or within water. And there are these fungi. I believe all of you are aware about something called mushrooms. And yes, mushroom is one of the fungi. Of course, all of you are burger and pizza generation, so of course you all know what is going to go in making burgers and pizza bread or dough. It is something called yeast which is going to go in making of this pizza dough or burger bun, right? So when we talk about these yeast, this yeast is nothing but a fungus which is edible. Likewise, even mushrooms are the fungi which are edible. So these lichens are made up of algae and fungi. When they come together, they make a totally different organism. They are coming together and becoming a third organism, which is called a lichen. They stay together in totally different conditions than what algae would stay in, that is in water, and where fungus will stay, where fungus are majority of them are saprophytes, so uh, they don't have photosynthesis happening in them, they don't have making of their own food happening in them. Though they are plants, they cannot make their own food. Now these plants are dependent on other plants or other dead and decaying organic matter for food. These lichens, on the other hand, can make their own food because they have algae too, and algae can photosynthesize on their own. They can make their own food. Therefore, these lichens will grow in areas which are totally different, like in adverse conditions, like desert rocks. They grow literally on the rocks, right? So these lichens are going to be breaking the rocks to make soil. So in school when you were studying geography, you had soil formation as one of the chapters possibly. Now, how is soil formed? So there are these rocks which keep breaking due to X number of environmental factors. It could be due to constant rubbing, constant water flowing through them. The rocks or the hard material which is there on the earth crust is going to be breaking down into smaller fragments, and these keeps breaking into smaller fragments furthermore, making ultimately making the sand or soil. The same process is also done biologically. This was a physical method of making of the soil. When I use a biological method, I will have to have some plants or animals involved in making of the soil. So these lichens are the ones which grow on these rocks, and they release certain chemicals, like how the roots enter the soil and they get a hold of soil. so that they don't allow the soil to erode, or during floods and all, plants will hold as much as they can and save soil from getting erosion or eroded. Now, when we are talking about lichens, lichens are going to send in some chemicals in the soil so as to keep breaking the rock and to generate a little bit of soil. When these lichens die, they will leave certain amount of the organic matter, which is going to now get degraded. So because of that, there is some little small amount of manure which is getting created over there, because that lichen is getting degraded. Because of this manure, higher plant, slightly higher plant though, but they will start to grow there, right? So this is how the entire succession, or this is how one set of plant, even after their death, they are going to allow others to survive. And this is exactly what we're talking about. We're talking of interdependence. We are talking of something called give and take relation. Right now, what we're doing is only take and take. There is no giving, right? This is exactly what we need to change. We need to ensure that we give back to nature. Unless and until we do that, we are not going to be able to survive. Now, only by saying that we need to do something, it's not going to start happening. We need to start taking these small, tiny uh, roles. We need to start taking small tiny initiatives to start giving back to nature. How do we do, what do we do, so that we can ensure that water remains for our future generation, or we don't use up all the fossil fuels, or we don't start just exploiting everything possible what we have, or how do we repair that ozone hole which we have created. Guys, just for an update, the ozone hole has started to get repaired. In fact, around 80% of it is already repaired. So it's not that we as our generation have not done anything. We are doing as much as we can, but it needs to be highlighted, capitalized, bold, and shown it to everybody possible that we need to take initiatives, and only taking small initiatives today is not going to be okay. I believe there are some very beautiful movies which are made. I am 100% sure you all watch a lot of movies. You should watch such movies which are made on such causes. So there is, I don't remember honestly, but I'll definitely try and recollect and send the message through Radhika ma'am or Firdaus ma'am and tell you the name of this movie which you must see. So it talks about how nature all of a sudden is getting colder, how the entire earth is going to start getting colder, okay, and how the water will actually freeze, and we are going to have all animals, everything dying over there because of the frozen ice over there. There is no water, so the animals or plants which are surviving within water or oceans, we don't have them anymore. Now imagine if we don't have oceans, what are we going to do? Because they constitute more than 80% of water on the earth. Though that is not drinkable water, that is not potable water, but it is something which is extremely important, because they are going to be contributing to something called water cycle. Water cycle is supposed to be important for us, because that is what is going to produce rains ultimately, and that is from where we are going to get the drinking water. So yes, drinking water is very important for us, and that's why water cycle ultimately is very important for us. When we are talking of this movie, it talks about the survival and how people are going to be literally dependent. They don't have any food left. They are going to be, even there are people who are going to eat other people. We are going to have that stage if we don't start acting now. And trust me, that is not going to be called interdependence. It is going to be called something else, right? So guys, I'll take 10 minutes now more for your question and answers, in case if you all have any question answers, and then we will stop this session. Radhika ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Students, if you have any questions, this is your time to ask Devangi ma'am. Any questions? Would you all like to thank Devangi ma'am for spending time discussing these topics with you all? It's always great to hear from teachers from different streams, different departments. You all should make the most of such opportunities.
Ma'am, I don't think they are there in the meet, or they are not viewing on the YouTube, because there is nobody responding here.
Exactly, exactly, which is quite disappointing, students. Come on, we are trying, we are planning this entire session for you all. Ma'am is here for you.
Come on, students, say anything about anything, be it anything what you do to your own step to conserving nature. Oh, Dev has responded. So
Thank you.
sweet.
But I would love
Dave
to
says,
have some questions, guys, rather than you just telling me that thanks for giving information. This is not information which is new, bachas. This is already available everywhere.
do
So
you
this is
have
a
any
platform where we are
specific
supposed to
question?
discuss.
Guys, at least say what you do to save nature, your own bit, whether it's in your school, whether it's in your college, anything that you have, anything concerns about nature, any issues, whatever you feel about the topic. Your comments would be on the live YouTube live. Come on, guys.
Come on, guys, put your stamp on it, yeah.
It will all be recorded in the history. Come on.
Make your presence felt, please. Ma'am, I don't think they have questions. So
Okay. Maybe they might meet you in college.
no
They're too
worries.
shy to ask
Anytime
here.
I'll be available in the main building, fourth floor. Anytime you want to know something, if something intrigues you, please, you are more than welcome to come to the department.
Yes, students. Devangi ma'am, thank you so much. Oh, one question
Oh, okay.
from
I have a
Dave.
question. How can we help to conserve nature for future generation? We possibly need to start cleaning up the pollution which we've already done. So there are different ways in which we can try to curb the pollution. There are several drives which are happening in Jain College. We are trying to do our bit. Please help us doing that. Also spread awareness around your society wherever you are living. See, we are doing this in college, but the same thing has to be done everywhere possible, right? So wherever you are staying, wherever you are put, whether you are a Mumbai student or you are a in-house student, that is, you are residing in Mumbai or anywhere else, please spread awareness with respect to what they can do with their waste, make compost on their own. It is very simple. Nowadays, you have all DIYs available. So please go through YouTube, see some good videos rather than only chatting on Instagram. Check these videos, make your own compost, try to create or not put everything in waste, try and utilize maximum you can. I'm not saying don't use AC because all of us need AC. Trust me, it is a blessing. Reflection for SIP journal. What is this?
Ma'am, they have to maintain a journal. So,
Oh,
along
okay.
the lines of what Dave asked and what you have been talking about, I thought
Oh,
this would be a very good thing for them to reflect on and maybe add to their journal.
absolutely done, done, done. This is really good. So yes, you can write these because you have to maintain journal, guys. You need to do homework, right? So
Yeah,
guys, you see this question and you need to answer this question. What will you do to survive or ensure that our future generation survives? I've already told you the problems which we have. Now we need to
exactly,
find
ma'am.
solutions. Guys, trust me, y'all give the best solutions in the world. Y'all give such simple solutions which are there, but we cannot see it, possibly because we've been ignoring those. There are such
True, ma'am.
simple things like switching off lights when you walk out of the room. You're saving electricity. All of us know that, and we do that at home, but we don't do it in college. College also pays electricity bills, and we are also utilizing the electricity produced by the government, so we need to save that electricity as well. So when we are doing that, you need to remember, wherever you are, please do this.
True,
Okay.
ma'am.
And guys, keep talking about this. Keep talking to anyone and everyone. Whenever you put some things on Instagram, guys, you have blessing in form of Instagram. Trust me, post these things on your Instagram. It will spread awareness. And this is what you should use your Insta account for. Please do that. It will really help. Yeah. But don't write that you can use your Instagram account for conservation of nature. Don't do that.
Thank you so much, Devangi ma'am. It's been it's been a privilege to have you in our contact list. That one request to you, and ma'am, you were very happy to come
Thank you.
and address all the students. This is also going to be on our YouTube channel, so students can even view it later.
Great.
So this will be something that will work as a very good video to go back to
Right.
just refresh your memory about the various ways in which we interact and engage with our nature.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Devangi ma'am. I know it's been a very long day for you. Thank you for taking the time out and doing this for us and our students.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Always, ma'am. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
very
ma'am.
much, ma'am. Thanks a lot for
Thank
the
you.
session.
May I leave? Is it okay if I leave?
Yes, surely,
Yes,
ma'am. I'll
sure.
just
Thank you.
take you off the screen, ma'am. Thank you,
Thank you
ma'am. Bye
so much.
bye. See
Thank
you
Thank
you.
you.
tomorrow.
Bye.
So, students, that was Devangi ma'am. Ma'am has spoken to you so much about the different ways in which you, as an individual, has a responsibility towards your nature, towards conservation and the preservation of the nature around you. And yes, these are your teachers whom you can talk to help save this beautiful world that we are a part of. Right, it's all about our individual responsibility, just like we have towards our health, towards our family members. We also have that responsibility towards the larger society and the world. Students, before we introduce the next speaker, just one short, very brief reminder to you that we have circulated the form for your creative entries. We really want you to submit your artwork, poetry, things that you would really like us to talk about in the concluding session of the SIP. It could be anything, it could be along the lines of what you have experienced in your FY, how you have changed in the past few weeks of college, what do you look forward to in your SYTY, your family, the nature around you, things that you wish to express in a creative form. We have circulated that Google form for you to submit your entry. We will recirculate it again. We really look forward to seeing your entries. And you have to beat the numbers and the enthusiasm last year. So please do make sure that you submit it, and we will definitely really go through those and then discuss as many as possible. Right, right, for those, ma'am.
Sure, please send in your entries, whether it be, as Radhika ma'am has very briefly elaborated to you, anything, be it your poem, anything that you like. In case you'll have any queries, please do reach out to us and we'll be very happy to help you out. Please do send your entries and we'll be reading out all those entries, the selected ones in our last session with you.
Yes. So now that Devangi ma'am has addressed us, we are moving towards the next section of the SIP, that is the world. So if you see, we have been moving in a radius. We first looked at ourselves, then our family, then nature, family and society, then nature, and now we are moving towards the world. The world is the global platform on which we hope each one of you shines and does your best towards. So to talk about the youth and the world, the individual and the world, we have Jyoti ma'am. Jyoti ma'am is the head of the department of the psychology department, and ma'am is over here to discuss and talk about the world with you. Right, that's a really big topic. So one second, let me, Jyoti ma'am, I'm just adding you to the live stream. Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, Jyoti ma'am.
Hi, good evening. I think there's a kind of a lag.
Slight lag, I think,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
Anamika ma'am, should I also add you to the live stream? Okay. Ma'am, you're
Hi,
on mute.
Anamika.
Hello, ma'am. So good to see you.
So good to see all of you. at 6 in the evening. All of you are looking like sparkling diamonds and stars, not
Thank you.
jaded at all.
I think it's also the filters, ma'am.
I'm also keeping
So,
tab on what YouTube is showing, so I can see that
so
there are,
Jyoti ma'am, we are already live. So,
yeah, so I'm able to see the YouTube on my phone. So I'm keeping track of what the students are doing also.
great, ma'am. Great, great.
Great.
Yes, there is a slight lag to your voice. So,
Yeah,
but it's okay, ma'am. We can,
yeah,
over to you, ma'am, to start the session. We will go off the
sure,
camera.
sure, sure.
Okay, thank
Am I
you.
audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Clearly audible.
Okay, I will also do the screen share. Just tell
Maybe
me
if
if it's
we go
working.
off, your lag will get corrected because it might
Yeah,
Possible.
be because of the video stream. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, just give me some feedback if things are okay.
Surely, ma'am. I'll just get your PPT onto the screen, then go off.
I've got it.
Yeah, I'll just. Shall I share it?
I've put it. No, I'm sharing it. Can you all
Yeah.
see?
Yes, ma'am. It is already projected.
Yeah, so let me put it into
It's just
slideshow mode.
loading.
Yeah,
It's still
I'm
loading,
waiting
I
for it
think.
to load.
Network issue.
Yeah, yeah,
That's it, ma'am.
yeah. Okay, so a very good evening to everyone. Let me see some responses on YouTube. Since I'm monitoring everything that's happening. Let me see some responses for 6 o'clock in the evening. Give me some adjectives of what you're feeling at this point of time. Since I'm not going to be able to make you talk, you can write some adjectives on the chat in the YouTube. Come on, folks. I could see Parth and Muskan and Dev having written something in the previous one here. So let's make a quick session of writing down adjectives of what you're feeling at this point of time. Come on, folks. Yeah, feeling happy, Muskan? Okay. Muskan, what class are you from? Dev, what class are you from? Okay, Muskan. What about students from, say, science and commerce, or are there students from the management courses? Okay, BVOC, Dev, okay. Right. So, first, I think I will start with a round of acknowledgements because these three professors of yours, Anamika ma'am, Radhika ma'am, Firdos ma'am, and of course, the college and the management have really given it a fine thought to introduce something like a student induction program, which talks to you because on a day to day basis, of course, there is a lot of interaction and you're teaching, you're learning. I can see Dia Lanan saying she's feeling energetic. But this is kind of a formalized way of also telling you a few things which we may or may not get time to do otherwise. Can I also have a few responses of whether I'm clearly audible? People on the chat? Okay, thank you, Parth. Right, so when you have been given all these wonderful inputs, various ideas, opportunities, a kind of a disciplined platform to introduce you to concepts which may be there for some of the faculties, like maybe in the humanities some of these concepts are touched. The commerce students possibly experience it firsthand when they have to work with numbers and money and finances. And sciences, of course, anyway do things like practicals, which takes them away from just theory and learning. So these sessions that we are talking about, which have been conducted and may continue for a while, are an attempt to reach out to you from a totally different, a holistic, from a kind of a top down, as we call it in psychology. You'll find me using a lot of psychology references. It gives you a base, a parameter, some kind of ideas additionally to what is happening in and around college. Right? So welcome to the Youth in the World uh, presentation. I am Jyoti. I'm from the psychology department. I've been with Jehin now for almost 27 years. So I'm not a dinosaur. I'm very much there. And I think I stay young because I interact with students like all of y'all who are forever giving us new ideas, creative ways of doing things, motivating us, keeping us on top of things, right? So it's a pleasure to interact with all of you. Okay, so very often we say, what am I as a youth or as a person? So these are some of the things that you may say you are: a daughter, a child, a neighbor, a student, an entrepreneur, a scientist, a taxpayer, an app builder. So, all these are your roles that you play across a spectrum. One of the reasons why the SIP is introduced is because you have moved away from a slightly more sheltered existence into a slightly more expressive existence, an existence which gives you more freedom. And like Spider-Man says, with lots of freedom comes lots of responsibilities. So when you, as the youth, as the future, are playing a role in the world doesn't just mean international. The world is everything around you. The world is also what is going on in your head. The world is also what is going on in your road. The world is also what is going on in Israel and Palestine. The world is also going on something in New Zealand. The world is also going on of Chandrayaan. So all of that is part of the world when we talk about the world. So when we talk about the world, we have to remember that in terms of our connection with the world, one of our connections with the world is a family, because that is part of what we are, right? So families, traditional families may be the ones that you look on at the top. A different kind of family is portrayed at the bottom. There is a group of people who are living in a community. And you have an older generation family, which is not just about one family but extended families. So families may have a traditional meaning. They may also have a slightly more complex meaning in these times and worlds. But we do like to think that families are a good structure to have in the world because it gives you a certain kind of a organized system. Now, what is this person? Who do you think it is? One of you may say he's a plantation worker. Another person may say he's an NSS student who's gone for, a sapling plantation. What else do you think he does besides maybe digging a little bit of the earth and planting saplings? Maybe he's a writer. Maybe he is someone who's a this generation person who knows how to smile for the camera. So you can add a whole lot of adjectives to what he is. Therefore, when you are talking about you with respect to the world, it is not just you, the breathing, living organism, but it has many layers of what you are, not just an individual, but someone connected to the larger world. Right. So, when we talk about the human beings in a world, we do believe that you could come from a perspective of having a human goal. Other things that human beings have could be a biological existence, it could be a technological development. But besides all that, you have something known as the human goal. And some of the pointers made about having a human goal could be that personally, you would want to have prosperity in your family and other families. You would want to live in a society or world which is fearless, based on trust and affection. You would want to have coexistence. You want to have an adequate or accurate understanding of every human being. When I use the word right, it may not just be right because it may be your perspective. We should try and fit as much as possible many perspectives of the right understanding of human beings, right? So if you start with this kind of assumption, you will also automatically realize that this cannot just be the four that are important. There may be many, very many more. So, one of the purposes of this presentation is also to make you think what else is there besides what is being said. Because what is being said is being shared with you, right? But you also need to think about what else is important. This is the time you can do it, because once you join the rat race of work and family and marriage, you may not get the time to stand and stare, as we say, right? So it's a good thing that during the SIP and during, of course, by default, being part of the extended community in Jai Hind, you'll have a lot of debates and discussions about what is important for you personally. Is it right what is going on in the world, or is it right going on in the neighborhood? So these discussions happen. So along the way of this entire presentation, you must expand your horizons, not just stick with understanding what is being said. Okay, so when we say right understanding, I just told you that it's not just about you understanding. You may understand, you may misunderstand. Another person may understand you, but from their perspective, they may not get. So, as far as possible, one should be able to incorporate a worldview. A worldview here doesn't again just mean nationalities, or worlds as in America or UK or India, but world as in around you, what people think, that also should be taken into consonance. Because as you grow, you'll realize you're not going to exist just as an individual. You're going to exist among people. You will be working with people, right? So right understanding has to be not just a few, but others could also have a right understanding. And one of the you can say nuggets of suggestion that this particular presentation makes is, please also think of correcting if somebody else is doing wrong. It's not a bad idea to at least ask them why they're thinking like that. Or you don't have to say you are wrong, but you can ask a few questions to figure out why they're thinking. And maybe when you are saying that, they would also rework how they are thinking. Okay, so given an Indian context, some of the values that we have, which may form the basis of your right understanding, could be that we should have trust, we should have respect, and there are some synonyms in the Sanskrit Hindi version also given along with that. You would want to have care around you, guidance, reverence, glory, gratitude, love. So, given these as some of the values that you would want to incorporate, again, automatically you would think, okay, there are so many other values. No problem. As long as you and your community around you share these values, your understanding and the right understanding will be based on that. So just going back to every family, we say that every family is what brings you into this universe, connects you to the society, connects you to the world, but every family is also a different story. So, after having a right understanding, one can also think of prosperity in families, not just mine, but along me, around me, across the world, across the globe, right? I remember during COVID, since we were all locked up at home and couldn't go out, lots of people started communicating online with truly across the world, not just, their neighborhoods. So somebody would be talking to somebody who was probably from Italy and going through the same problem, which we may not have had the time to do in your daily rush of studies and, things like that. So prosperity in every family, or few families. Again, it's a question, you see, are you only going to maximize your own happiness, your own family's happiness, or somewhere along the way your eye is also around, okay, everyone around me should also kind of, you may not be actively involved in it, but definitely you're sensitive and aware that you cannot literally make others deprived. You should try and help along the process. Now, this is a very uh, good image. It will take a few seconds for you to respond, but I'm willing to wait. What do you think this image shows, and how is it connected to the first 2 points? I think it'll take a 15-second lag before you respond, but I'm willing to wait. What do you think this image shows? How could it be connected to the few points that we've just discussed about a right understanding and about, prosperity for not just one person but for other people too? Okay, I'll continue talking since the lag seems to take away. I'll wait for the response. I'm not going to respond to it myself. Right? Right. Another idea or another thought. Okay, part says it means support. Okay. I can wait for a few more responses. I'll go on to this. Does anyone recognize this lady who's there in the picture here? The lady here is Anandi Bai. She is one of the, or rather, the first woman doctor in India. And she had to fight a lot for it. But she herself was very unhealthy in life in the sense that she had a lot of physiological problems. But with all that, standing against a lot of opposition, she went on to becoming the first Indian lady doctor. Okay, so when we talk about the world, we would like a world which is based on fearlessness, a world where we can learn to trust others, others can trust us, and hopefully with a lot of affection, rather than based on mistrust and jealousy. But if you look at all around you, there is quite a bit of mistrust and jealousy. But in spite of that, we all manage to, take our boat and go along the world of trust and affection. Maybe 5 minutes back, there was trust and affection, where there is mistrust and jealousy right now. Maybe 5 minutes later, it'll be better. World news, for example, is full of, all kinds of extreme violence. Where is the question of fearless society? Everyone wants to seem to want to aggress against the other, but that is only one portion of the world. There is another portion of the world which goes on with its coexistence. So one of the things you will realize is, even in this statement, a lot of things are not all equal. If you say fearless, can people do anything with fearlessness? Will it actually create mistrust because people misuse fearlessness? So you need to understand that all of these have to strike a balance. I've put a quote here. You can read it, or you may have read it. It is Robert Kennedy, who's talking about how uh, it is from numberless diverse acts of courage that human history is shaped. So, how does fearlessness come in society? Because every single person has put their foot down for something or the other. They have shown fearlessness, and that's one of the ways in which fearlessness comes up in society. This is what one would want in small kids, to have a happy, healthy existence. They would be able to do this provided they have a society or a world which is safe, where they can trust. Would you expect such a picture in an area which is having bombshells every day, bombing every day? Maybe in the wee hours of the night, when everything quietens down, maybe a group of children do get the chance to do it, but that's so far and few in between, right? So the reason I keep on talking about this is, these are some of the issues that are existing around the world these days. So when we are making this very fancy presentation talking about nature, about you and the world, I think it's a good thing to constantly go back there too. Coexistence. I think some of this has been discussed by Devangi ma'am, saying that coexistence is better than exploitation. So I'm not really going into that. Uh, this presentation is being made to the youth of today's world. We have had some very famous youth icons in India, one of them being Vivekanand. I put a link for his speech, his first speech in the American Society, where he started by addressing my brothers and sisters and made history. It's a just a lovely speech. We won't get time now to read it, but that's something that you can read and you can think back. What he said at that time is so relevant to what is happening these days. The starfish story is another thing which is about the here and now. It is about every individual and how small acts of courage, Small acts of good does help, does take it further, because for that one person whom you did well, it is a good thing, it is a gain. And slowly, just like drops and drops that make an ocean, small acts of kindness will take you further. Okay, so we started with this fancy thing saying you should have a right understanding. You should try and have every family's prosperity. You should see that there is balance in nature, right? So the second question we're asking ourselves, basically, or the third one, is, do you see these goals as being achieved? Do you think there is right understanding? Do you think there is prosperity? Do you think there is fearlessness? Do you think there is coexistence? Again, I'll give you 15 seconds to respond, okay? I can't see any responses yet. Who would like to say something about this? Do you think that you've appraised this situation? Do you feel that these are the things that exist, even if not fully, partially, or they do not exist? What is your appraisal of the status? Okay, at the bottom of the slide, there is a bit about Malala Yousafzai. Does anyone know this youth icon? She was a citizen of Pakistan, and around the time that Taliban came and created a lot of mayhem there, she spoke against them, and they almost shot her. And she woke up in Britain, where people were telling her the whole world was praying that she would be okay. She's gone on to becoming a activist. Life threw those lemons at her. Instead of getting beaten, she's taken it and worked around it and tried to make a world a better place. So obviously, when she is appraising these goals, she's not going to see all of this as readily available. So she's working to improve some of these. So, given that some of these goals, at least you agree on, or you believe that these could be realistic goals, or you feel that, okay, these are the things that even me and my family definitely would think about, what is the way ahead of correcting these anomalies or these disturbances? Some of the ways would be to have an education, to take care of your health, to participate in work, to look for justice and preservation, and this concept of exchange storage, right? So we will take one of each one of them and understand. You're most welcome to put some points which you think are not being reflected here, which you think could be part of the way ahead. It could be your personal opinion. Please feel free to put it in the chat. So when we talk about education and sanskar, sometimes the word sanskar is so badly used, we forget what it means to be having sanskar. But education, of course, tries to make you a harmonic person who's not just living for yourself, your wider understanding the world, of the philosophies, of cultures, of sciences, of law, everything. You have a very holistic kind of understanding. I often ask my students, why is it that they feel that the labor market always prefers graduates over someone who's not got a graduation? So one of the things they'll say is, of course, ma'am, unke paas to certificate hai, so they'll show. But one real reason why graduates would be preferred is that they have what is called delayed gratification in them. They are able to wait for goals to achieve success after some time. It's like the farmer who puts a seed and waits for 6 months before the plant grows. People who are truly educated know that overnight things don't change. So they're willing to have the commitment and preparation and the practice of living in harmony. That is what you as a graduate, in spite of the fact that you may not have attended lectures, or you're going to bunk a bit, you still have that plus point with you, because education gives you that sense of length, sense of harmony, sense of patience, sense of the fact that you have to prepare for things. It's not like a 2 minute Maggie. We are all in a world where we use a lot of junk food, but फिर भी स्विगी को आने को भी थोड़ा तो टाइम लगता है. So you need to wait and prepare, right? So one of the things that education definitely realistically contributes to you is commitment, preparation, and practice of living in harmony. I'm not going to be reading everything that is there in the slide, right? Some of it you read, some of you can refute, some of you can challenge, some of you can give your own ideas. Right. So right now, for example, you are in the midst of NEP, which is supposedly giving you a skill-based education. It may not have come across fully, but the very fact that you're doing various courses, like a science student is doing comics and graphics course, a commerce student is doing something related to philosophies, an art student, sorry, a science student who's doing something related to, I said that, an art student is doing something related to chemistry. This tells you that even after school, it's not a bad idea to revisit those streams which you have long left behind. And as you go further, the supposed aim of the NEP is to give you skill based education. Some of you may want it, some of you may not want it. Some of you may feel that I would rather have slightly more, academic kind of theoretical, because I want to go ahead for further studies. But there you could also try research as one of the skills then, right? So education in the current scenario, they're trying to reform education so that you become more employable. You understand phenomenon like social responsibility. So after school, where you're protected and teachers kind of told you what to do, you may have, as groups, participated in sports or cultural events where you understood social responsibility of how you have to behave and you should not behave, right? So now it is like you're on your own. You're going, you're representing the college. You're probably going across the world to foreign universities where you're saying a student of Jai Hind, we're giving you recommendations. So you have a lot of responsibility along the way. Innovation, research, entrepreneurship. I think Jahan students have a very strong streak of innovation. They do it in micro, aspects, but that is what you would do, right? That's why we said we learn a lot from you, right? Autonomy. Autonomy is basically one of the feelings that you have the power to do things. But again, you have to draw the line. Your autonomy ends where other person's autonomy begins. So these concepts are trying to be introduced in the NEP. I'm not going to say much about this. It is something to read and absorb. So I'll give you like 10 seconds to do that. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right. The other way in which you can change the imbalances is through health and self regulation. Uh, in the in every organization, and so also when you talk about the National Occupational Network, they always have a section which says that a person who is working should have knowledge of safety precautions, should have knowledge about taking care of themselves and the people around them, following regulation and discipline. Whatever job you do, whether you're a scientist, whether you're a dancer, whether you're a beautician, these are things that are incorporated into every aspect of work. Similarly, every aspect of life. So, as a student, too, you should take care of your health. If you're overdoing something, find a way to balance it out. Obviously, you'll move with the flow, you'll want to enjoy, you'll want to participate, you'll want to study a lot. But somewhere along the way, if you're getting these, feelers from your body, from your parents, do give it a little here or attention and see if you can self regulate. Don't overdo. You have a life, you have a long life. A lot of things are going to happen. You probably have even more enjoyment later, so you don't have to cram everything right now, right? So health and self regulation would go hand in hand. I'll take a little departure here. When you talk of health, you usually only talk about the fact that you have to, probably have a good diet, and you should have a good skin, and your all your vitals should be okay. But there are other aspects of health too, like an understanding that human beings are various intelligences. So do not criticize people because they are different, because they have different skills, right? So somebody may be more linguistical, somebody may be more logical, mathematical. So this understanding also helps for mental health and acceptance of other people. So that was a little departure. Then we come to production and work as another thing that keeps the world moving. They say some societies across the world are no more agricultural societies, which means in that particular country or state, there is no farming. All they produce comes from outside. Sometimes I worry whether that will happen to us too. We still have an agrarian economy to a large extent, though that economy gets beaten and mistreated most of the time. So production and work is not just got to do with agricultural. Production and work has got to do all kind of production and work. When you make say an app, you're producing and working. When you are counseling somebody, you're producing and working. When you're helping somebody pay their taxes, you're producing and working. When you maybe set up a khadi shop, you're producing and working. So each one of us would want to produce and work what may be there in our generations. Like maybe we are an oil selling family, we have an oil business. Somebody else may have taken up something completely new. They may have been doctors in the family, but now they realize that their times have changed, so they become say lawyers. Production. What else could be produced? Chemicals, goods, ideas, software. All of these can be created or produced. So, one of the things about any kind of production and work ideally would be that it is cyclical and it is mutually growing. It doesn't dump things into the world saying the world will take care of it. You have to have a natural way of balancing and regulating the flow of work, which would include treating people well, which would include being eco friendly, which would include giving time for yourself and your family. So production and work cannot be done at the cost of everyone else. Do you all just remember that rescue of those miners from Uttarakhand? I think the entire nation was glued in to watch what was happening. Of course, there were a few people who were taking all the plus points and saying it was because of them or not because of someone else. But more than that, that was a flaw in the production and work by the owners, but the world came together and resolved that problem. We shouldn't wait for that to happen. We should always have these kind of systems which have cross checks. So when you think of production work, these may be some of the production and work, right? So there is a what do you call a village industry happening in Himachal. There is a cloth industry happening probably in Bhiwandi. There is a factory of Coca-Cola maybe somewhere in Gurgaon. There is khadi somewhere maybe in Gujarat or Uttaranchal. So production is this, and also all the production that you can't see: production of ideas, production of nonsensical WhatsApp forwards, which I think can be highly avoided. So one pause again we take here and ask you the question. Of course you're going to work, of course you want to do well, be successful, to buy things that you like. But besides that, have you ever thought of why you want to work? Maybe you could take 15 seconds, all of you, in your mind, and just think, why is it I want to work? You will get a few answers which maybe some new answers will come to you. Maybe you want to work because of something somebody told you randomly. Maybe you want to work because you saw something and you thought it was fascinating. Whether it will actually work out or not, that life will tell you. But why do you want to work is something, a question that a youth should try and ask along the way. Some of the obvious answers of why youth work for: it enables them. When you do things like, especially if you like working in societies and cells, you get a strong sense of being enabled when you do things. When you contact other people, when you organize something, you get a strong sense of being enabled, empowered, because you feel that you can change what is around you. So you feel you can change the way a particular board was displayed. Gives you a great sense of achievement. Providing young people opportunities to gain autonomy. So if in the class teacher tells you, okay, 1 plus 1 is 2, outside I can go and say that if I put 1 and 1 together, maybe it will be 11. Okay, so providing young people with healthy and safe opportunities for leisure that they can enjoy. I think that is one thing that colleges do provide. They give you a chance to enjoy, have leisure, but in a relatively safe environment. So you must also think about how you can carry that forward when you go across into the world. So these are some of the obvious answers of why youth want to work. Somewhere along the way, when we talked about fearlessness, the concept of justice comes into place, right? Just as we said, your autonomy ends where another person's autonomy begins, you have to be just in the way you deal with. So many of these points are connected to that image I had shown you of one person wearing a shoe and the other person barefoot. It could be interpreted in various ways. One of you said it was about support. It could be to remind you that do not trample on others. It could be that every person wears a different shoe. So somewhere along the way, the idea of justice is something that you should carry forth with you. I think your microcosmic understanding of justice is मुझे ऐसे marks मिले उसको ऐसे marks मिले, this just and fair. That's probably your first question of justice. Besides that, of course, justice comes to cells in societies ka space and booking and all that. But justice in the larger world, if you take Malala, if you take Vivekanand, if you take Anandibai Joshi, or some of the workers of the mines who just came out, what do they understand of justice? Do you feel that they felt that justice was done to them? Do they want to question justice not just for themselves but for others? Right? So this justice is not just about seeing that you get justice, but trying to also create a world which is just and fair. So I always tell my students, when you're working or if you're an entrepreneur, remember that you have to take people along. If your success is by trampling others, it will not go a long way. So if you find that somebody else is doing something which is terribly wrong, it's not a problem if you just don't completely ignore it. Somewhere casually talk to that person, figure out kya ho raha hai, bhai, why are you doing this. So maybe stopping injustice requires a little bit more strength and a lot of clarity, but you can start at that point. So helping that person understand the concept of justice, because justice is what will ensure some kind of fearlessness. In social sciences, we talk about two kinds of justices: procedural justice, which has got to do with the way rules and laws are explained. Is it enough to just put a notice and leave it at that? Jai Hind, for example, would like every student to understand what's happening. So teachers come to class, student council explains. So there is a lot of procedural justice that we attempt. What about the world? How is the world with respect to procedural justice? World again doesn't mean India versus Canada. World could be what is happening, say in Mumbai. That could also be part of your world. So do you think, for example, traffic? Do you think there is procedural justice in traffic in Mumbai? You'll have to see how clearly the laws are written. For example, one of the ways in which procedural justice has improved is by having video cams for speeding. So no one is going to be biased. If you sped, you got the ticket. So that is an example of the fact that procedural justice got to do with how justice is delivered. The other one, for example, if your tax laws are clear, that means to some extent there is procedural justice. Of course, people who are from commerce will say different kinds of taxation is different. Like some countries have great income tax, we have one of the worst income taxes. So that could also be part of procedural justice. The other kind of justice is distributive justice, which has got to do with how much of a share you're getting in anything. So if you're an Indian citizen, are you getting anything? Like somebody will say, some countries across the world get social welfare. We as Indians don't get it. It's a just question. Have you ever wondered why you don't get it? Have you thought about it? Maybe it's time you thought about it. So distributive justice is how much you get. So mummy ne cake banaya, daddy ko bada piece diya, bachcho ko do piece diya, and she took a little less for herself. Her distributive justice is not good. But theek hai, she has some ways of explaining it. Right? So across the world, maybe the superpowers dominate distributive justice. They take all the big shares. They create problems in different parts of the world. Maybe they also have a lot of what is called soft power. They try to show off their culture, their technology, and they give that to the other countries. So they hope that distributive justice will be offset. So in justice, we trust. I hope we do that. Many of you have been part of the voter registration, which I think is a commendable thing that you all are doing for the world, because you're getting people to get into the voting system, understand their rights, That is another reason why the SIP is talked is given to students, or this Diksharam is given to students who are above 18, because you have a lot of role to play. You have been given a lot of power, right? You've been given choices which may not be there for students younger than 18. Youth and social media, use it well. Just like Devangi ma'am just said, use Instagram for a lot of positive ideas is also a good thing, rather than just having petty discussions. Okay, so then we come to preservation, right? Preservation about enrichment of nature. I'm not going too much into this because this is what was discussed earlier. I like this picture because it seems to juxtapose our cement jungle with the beautiful birds that come into Sivri and Airoli and all that. But does that mean we have balanced ecosystem? Far from it, right? But the other way of justice is also our what do you call um, law, courts of law. Some of you may go for what is called a moot court, or you may go and visit the court of law and see a case happening. Some faith you will have restored in society. This is the famous Chipko movement, which has two roots in India. One was early in Rajasthan, maybe in the 1700s, and later on taken in the 1900s by Sundarlal Bahugana to the north of India, where women of the rural areas literally chipkoed to the trees so that there is no deforestation. So this is a live movement in India which talks about people having made an effort to bridge the gap between imbalances in society and individuals. Okay, what is this idea of exchange storage? How many of us like to hoard? We like to hoard a lot of things. ठीक है, to a certain extent, hoarding is okay because that is what is modern man's thinking, that you have to save something so that you can use it in the future. But if you overdo it, you will damage the process, you will damage the cycle, right? And you will overdo things. Like, I always wonder, all these big malls and clothing stores and Amazon and all that, how much they store. It is worth thinking about what happens to everything that is there. Of course, some will say, "अरे damage हो जाएगा," and में वो सब it'll get deteriorated. Then why did you spend so much time making all that? So this exchange storage, not just in terms of production, not just in terms of food or technology, everything you must have some kind of balance of. You cannot over produce, and you have to share. You must share. Like, somebody was joking the other day, the stand-up comedian, saying, yeah, countries of the Middle East, how long will they depend on this oil to be rich and continue to be rich? Why don't they give some of the oil to others? Of course they give at a price, right? So when you talk about exchange storage, you have to understand the concept that whatever you do has a ripple effect, and whatever you do must be shared with others. You cannot just keep it only for personal consumption. There is no growth, there is no airing. Country shares, land share, student exchange happens, for example, idea exchanges happen. Like, for this, again, this minor wala story, a lot of people from around the world came to share their expertise. Also, physically, you must think of not over hoarding or over storing. In this context, let me again take you back to what is called the Sarvodaya movement of Gandhiji. He said that instead of following this industrialized society, can we go back to some kind of a community or a village, or what is called small scale industry, because you're only producing as much as you need. You're not overdoing the whole thing. At a very microcosmic level, when you take apps, they always have what are called improvements day by day. We debug this, we debug that. So in a way, they're not hoarding. They're not trying to make the changes all at once and forgetting about it. Every day, somebody is contributing to a new change. So that's a very positive thing about these apps and their development. Similarly, one should also see whether, for example, our college. You may have tie-ups with smaller schools which are disadvantaged and share your resources, right? Bigger countries may share it with smaller countries, which is what many of the international movements are all about. It may or may not work completely, but at least the that is the purpose behind all that. So the Sarvodaya movement was Gandhiji's idea of having a small um, ecosystem literally of production, storage, sharing, instead of having large industrialized kind of societies or economies. So it's well worth thinking about it. This is just going back to what we as Jahind did during the COVID time. Many of our students went and reached out to people. So, in their own way, they were contributing and sharing whatever they could instead of just hoarding it. Again, harking back to to psychology, one of the psychologists by the name Adler said that one of the reasons why there is social unrest, why there is thievery, why there is people who are not following the social rules is because of a simple lack of social interest. Even getting anxiety and aggression is because you do not have that social interest phenomenon. You should learn to live with people. Some people are just naturally good at it, some people can work on it, right? So your sense of self is also related to how your family views you, and to some extent, hopefully not to an overly large extent, how your friends view you, how your work co-workers view you. So social interest, taking an interest in the outside world, is an important idea in a sense of a larger world, right? Because world, like I said, is not just about nationalities. World is what is happening across you from the street, or is it happening across you 10 countries across. Both of it is part of your world, and you've already stepped into the world because you're getting a lot of freedom in college years. And that is why some such program is given to you, to at least maybe tickle your thought processes, or maybe to tell you that this is all complete nonsense. We should think of something completely new that could help us integrate with the world, right? So, in a way, we are talking about order. We start with the individual, the family to what could be called a village. Today, it would be called probably a district or a jilla, right? Then maybe a city, then a state, then nation. And somewhere along the way, a lot of oddballs do not follow across anything, and anyone who comes across just seems to take them into their own country or land or territory and misuse. So the harmony gets a little bit of a blockage when this kind of process happens. I'm not calling out names or giving examples, but I think you may have figured out that there are so many such blocks into this entire process of synchrony. So the overview here, of course, is that uh, one would like to have the right understanding, harmony, coexistence, fearlessness in society. The way forward, of course, would be to improve education. Always remember health and self. Whether you're going to be a sports person, whether you're going to be an entrepreneur, whether you're going to be a banker or a manager, remember to take care of your health and the health of others to some extent at least. Do not trample over others to achieve your goals. Production and work, you will be part of the work in the future. You may not necessarily have a 9 to 5 job. Maybe like one of our students, ace at the subject, but wanted to work on his or her own, right? So set up a coaching class and is doing pretty well. Nothing wrong there, because just teaching people who want it, not trying to make a scam out of it. So work can be anything that makes you contribute to others, see that you're making the change in others. So the question you would ask is, why am I working? Of course, to make a little bit of money, to buy things that I like. But besides that, if there's anything else that appeals to you about the work itself, like somebody will say, I like order and meaning, so I'm going to do this kind of work. I like to reach out to people, so I'm going to do this kind of work. So that also is part of understanding why production and work is important in society, because it also gives meaning to your existence. Then justice and preservation and exchange storage. So these are all some of the ideas tossed at you. You may already be in midst of the world because you're in a microcosm in Jai Hind itself, right? But it is your next step towards being the world member, right? India supposedly has the most youth, and in terms of numbers, so obviously we would want you to be able to take care of yourself and contribute to the development of the world around you. Just to go back to our own story of Jai Hind, These are all some of the achievements in the past, in the nearby, in the previous years. Just quickly running through that. So we do our world contribution. Students do it. You can be part of it in any way. Like NSS is one, Rotaract is other. When you participate in your own cells and societies, you're contributing to the development and creativity of your own knowledge, and in a way, you're producing new ideas and work. So we are never far behind when it comes to fashion. Then we have these NCC graduates, candidates doing well, right? Just a little bit of information. There's something called a SWAYAM course, which you may have heard in other presentations too, not from Diksharam, but it is a way of continuing your education without just attending classes. That doesn't mean you're a bunk. What I mean is that get an idea to learn not just from Coursera and Udemy, but we have our own Indian portals which are helping you learn a few things. Some of the courses are really good, then are pretty much a way to get your credit bank. You know about the academic bank of credits, right? Then, of course, culture at Jai Hind. Okay, so here I've presented some jumbled words. Let's see how you crack it. I can look for responses on the screen in YouTube. So I would like you to unjumble and enter it here, right? These are all about various roles you can play in society or the world. I'm predicting a 15-second lag, and then hope to see people responding. Unjumble these words. I can be very patient because I love doing word puzzles. So I'll wait for you to unjumble and put the responses in the chat. Who is there? Let's see. According to this, there are some 15 people watching. So out of those 15, at least 5 or 6, I'm sure, will respond. Unjumble the words. Any one or two you can unjumble and write it. Talking about the role of youth in society. Yeah. Okay, so we'll hope that you can do that unjumbling on your own. These are some of the references, and these are some of the books that I have personally read, and I find it's a good combination of various things that you can read and write. Right. So at this point, I will stop from my end. I will let the organizer say a few words, and I'll stop my screen share.
Um, Thank you so much, Jyoti ma'am. That was a very, very engaging session. And I can tell you that, we were also all glued to the screen because you took us through a wonderful, tapestry of, a different sort of movements and how, the youth can contribute, how the youth has contributed in the past and even in the present time. So I know that we had fewer viewers today, but certainly the students who might want to watch this session a little later at their convenience, they will benefit from the very, very pertinent examples that you have given. because we were also just as much glued to the screen. The three of us were talking that, oh, like this is such a wonderful example, or yes, this movement really falls so much in place. And even the unjumbling activity, I mean, I was definitely doing it on a sheet of paper. So I'm sure that I know some of the students, some of y'all have responded, Haspreet, Dia, Dev, and the others also. I'm sure when they can do it at their convenience, they would sort of respond. So we can only be thankful to you, Jyoti ma'am, because this was again at a short notice, and you graciously agreed, and you took out time from your busy schedule to really drive home such important concerns that are in line with our SIP program and the aims of NEP. We can only be thankful to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Anamika, Radhika, Firdaus. Keep
Thank you
the
very much, ma'am.
mashal jilai rahe.
No, thank you for always giving us that support. Every time, whenever we get in touch, you're always ready to conduct session for us at whatever short notice we tell you, whatever time we tell you,
The
you're
thing
always
that binds all of us is we love to have a good laugh, and that keeps us going.
yes,
Yes,
true, ma'am.
ma'am. And students, these are your own teachers who have taken out the time with the whole intention of wanting some extra time with their students. So we hope that both the sessions today helped you to also just think about the various ways in which you as an individual can have an impact on the nature around you, on the environment around you, and the larger social and global context. So now that you are moving towards what we call as adulting, you're moving towards taking far more responsible decisions. You're engaging with the world around you. We hope that these sessions helped you to start thinking about the ways in which you can have that impact, right? So I think that's the best takeaway that we can get from both the sessions. And both Jyoti ma'am and Devangi ma'am really tried their level best to make it interactive, although the platform also has its own limitations. But hopefully, as students will keep viewing the session in the days to come, it will be something which will, it will be something which they will think about. We have two short announcements. Yeah, Anamika ma'am.
Yeah, just to add to what Radhika ma'am said, students do pay attention to the reflective question that has been put out for you all.
Sorry to
Uh,
interrupt. May I leave?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please
Thank
do.
Sure,
you.
ma'am. Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am,
you, ma'am.
for
Thank you
once
very
again.
much.
Yeah, students, just to draw your attention once again to the comments, the reflective question has been put out for you. What are two things that you wish to change in today's world? And how will you contribute to that change? Please reflect on this and write this in your journal, in your SIP journal. And the announcements that we need to make are very much connected to, this concern. I hope that, I mean, we all hope that you are engaged in the process of completing writing your journal, because if you remember, that was our starting point for this entire program Diksharam, which is now nearing its completion. So not only should you all congratulate yourselves for making it up until this point, but also ensure that your reflections are made an important part of this process. Because if you remember, we had mentioned that we will be collecting these journals from your side. So there will be a Google form link which will be circulated after the concluding session is over, for you to send us your journals. That is as much an important part of the entire program, and your certification depends on that. Okay, we will be going through your journals, going through your reflections, so as to ensure that not only have you been a participant in the contact time that we have had with you, but you have also taken out time to explore these concerns on your own, in your own reflective manner. There are no right or wrong answers. We have already iterated this time and again, that it is not that there's one right answer, or you have to write these reflections in a particular way, in a particular format. You're free to do it in your own way, write it in your own words, in whatever language you prefer. So all of that, there is a lot of open space for you. But you definitely have to embark on this journey of self exploration. So, in case it's a reminder for all the students, in case you feel that there are some sessions that you need to sort of reflect on, please go back, to the reflective questions. In case of the offline sessions, these were given to you during the contact time that we had with you last semester. And in case of the online sessions, there were two reflective questions that were given to you in the earlier session that we had with you on family and society, and two reflective questions have been given today in today's session. So please go through all these reflective questions and jot down whatever you feel about these questions, either in line with our discussions, or you can bring in your personal experience. But your journal is a very important part of this program, and you will be submitting it, and your certification will depend as much on your submission of the journal as it does on your attendance of these different sessions, right? So that is a very, very crucial announcement that we need to make. And the second thing, as Radhika ma'am already spoke to you about this after Devangi ma'am's session, in the concluding session that we have with you, which is on the 8th Friday, we will be sort of sharing some of your creative reflections, creative expressions on your college life, or on some of the topics that we've discussed with you, or just your experiences in college in the first year. Okay, because basically the point of Diksharam was to facilitate a transition from your school life into college life. So how has it been so far? Because now you have spent a considerable number of months in your first year exploring academics, co-curriculars, meeting up with new people, making new friends, talking to your teachers. All of these have been an integral part of your college life. So I'm sure that you all are buzzing with creativity, and you definitely have certain creative ways in which you want to talk about your first year of college and the life that you have had up until this point in Jai Hind. So we look forward to receiving your creative entries. Can be a poem, prose, a short reflective piece, essay, artwork, photography, anything that you feel is reflective of your sort of the time that you've spent in GHC, or even if it's a reflection on some of the topics that we have discussed, whether it is self, family, society, nature, world, anything to that effect. We will be happy to share these, discuss these, maybe get you also, make you also a part of the session. If you want to talk about these reflections, we will be happy to have you on board, because that will be that will provide us with the much needed closure to this wonderful journey that we have all had together. And it will be really nice to hear your voice, hear from you how your time has been up until this point in Jai Hind College. So we'll be recirculating that link. It was sent as part of the invite message for today's session, but in case you've missed it, we'll resend it in another message, which will be sent on your class groups. So please take that very, very seriously, and send us your creative output by the 6th, or maximum by the 7th, so that we have some time to run through it and bring it on board. So that's these are the two things we wanted to tell you. Radhika ma'am, Firdaus ma'am.
Students,
That's all,
please, we
students.
request you to submit your creative entries, and we understand the midst of lectures and everything, but please do whatever you like, whatever you love doing it. Please give your entries to us so that we could have a very enriching concluding session. Yes, Radhika ma'am.
Nothing. I've just released today's attendance sheet. You all can just refresh your page and you will get access to it. I've just enabled the responses now, so you can just refresh the page and fill in today's attendance. Students, once again from the team Diksharam, we are very happy with the way you, as a batch, have also adapted to the NEP. You all have been very cooperative, very warm, very enthusiastic, and we hope that the Diksharam 23-24 was also equally enriching for you. Like both Anamika ma'am and Firdaus ma'am said, we will be having our concluding session soon. Please be on the lookout for the details regarding that. And please, once again, do send in your entries so that we may have beautiful creative pieces to display during the concluding session. And you can cheer for your classmates, you can celebrate yourself, and we really look forward to getting to know your creativity and the way in which you perceive and interpret the world around you.
And
So,
just to
yeah.
add to what ma'am said, this is a non judgmental space.
Yes.
So please don't hold back thinking that, oh, I will be perceived a certain way, or, oh, somebody will think some way about me. No, the very reason we've had this entire journey for you is because we want to create this safe space for sharing. So don't hold back thinking that, oh, people can be opinionated, people will be judgmental. That we can assure you that at least on this platform that will not happen. So feel free, and we really encourage you to really surprise us with whatever creative output that you all have.
I think we can close for today.
Yes, yes.
All right, students, thank you so much. We are ending the live stream now. Hopefully, you have the Google Form link for the attendance. Okay, bye. See you all in class.
Thank you, students.